Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Vice President of Marketing himself, Kyle Knowles. I'm trying to be the AV guy too. I didn't even hear the music going when I first clicked. So welcome everyone to Maker Manager Money 2023. Thank you so much for being here. What I want to do first is I want to thank the sponsors, especially the food sponsors, right? We've got Hungry Howie's, Nothing But Cakes, Ruby Snap, Crave Cookies, and it's all because of April Frampton right here. So one of the speakers. But a special thanks to Kiln, right? If this is the first time you've been at Kiln, please raise your hand. First time at Kiln. Make a note, Danny. Make a note of that. There's quite a few here. But what I want to do, I want to thank Kiln for providing the space, the drinks, and I want to turn some time over to Danny Peterson. Please give it up to Danny. He's going to say
All right, thank you. I don't know how I can follow an entrance like that. That was pretty iconic. My name is Danny from Kiln. Just for all the new faces here, first off, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Housekeeping items, if you go out these doors to the right, there's some restrooms there. And if there's any questions throughout the time that you're here, I'll be up at the front desk. But just wanted to give a little intro from Kiln. We are a co-working space, very lifestyle-oriented and community-focused. So we love to do lots of events, bring the community together. Loved partnering on this event, excited for it. So if you would like to know more, if you would like to just see our space, it goes pretty far beyond there as well. So after the event, come find me. I'll just be at the front. But that's all for me. Thank you.
I don't really know where to stand here. I'm used to sitting. So I'm going to come over here. Okay, I just want to talk about the journey of Maker Manager Money, because this is kind of what it looked like to me 4 or 5 months ago. I thought, first of all, I was the last white heterosexual male to not have a podcast, right? So I thought I'd better join in and start a podcast, but this is kind of what it looked like, right? There was just, the sky was the limit. I could take it anywhere I wanted to. And this is the result of basically, if this will click, 155 days. So 155 days ago, I recorded my first podcast with Ken Allred, who couldn't make it here tonight. I think he sent Janae, I don't think she could stay for the speaking, but he was the first guinea pig, and you see a lot of guinea pigs here willing to join a fledgling podcast. But I've just learned so many things. Let me just tell you, I worship entrepreneurs. They are the backbone of the economy. They are willing to go without a paycheck every 2 weeks, which I haven't been willing to do that. We've got a new entrepreneur right here, David, that's here tonight. He's going to start a consulting group to implement Oracle. So, I mean, hats off to all of you. I've learned so much just sitting across the table from each of you. And I'm so just happy to have this event and have you be here. One of the things that I wanted to say, first of all, and I didn't get to it because they're over there on my sticky notes, but I just wanted to say, generative AI will not replace live events, ever. Generative AI will not generate the kind of energy you can get from meeting new people and sitting down and talking about different things together and joining together in live events. So I appreciate everyone being here, everyone's energy, and I feel it, and I hope you guys, I want to ask a favor of you. if you meet one connection, or if you walk away with one idea that you're going to either implement or think about and it affected you, please let me know. These are the kinds of stories that I want to hear from having this event tonight. So quickly, I'll just go with this. I did have some goals. I mean, initially, I just wanted to kind of get into it, but then after doing a couple podcasts, I was like, okay, you gotta have some goals, right? You have to have some kind of thing that's in your head that's like, is this worth doing, right? Or am I headed in the right direction? So I just want to quickly go through the goals I had. I wanted to be creative, wanted to do more creative things, right? Sometimes when you're working for the man, you don't get a lot of opportunities, especially if you're in management. There's not a lot of opportunities to be creative. And so I wanted something, an outlet, nights and weekends, to be more creative. Expand my network. And again, both of these don't have metrics tied to them, but I think being creative, I could add some metrics to these pretty easy. Expand my network, I could add some metrics. But 3 of the guests that I've had on the podcast, I never knew before I started the podcast. Okay, one of them speaking tonight, Christian. So check 2 episodes per month. I kind of was going crazy at the start of it, trying to do 1 a week. It's very hard as a fellow podcaster. Sierra McCleve would attest, very hard to do 1 a week, especially when you're busy with a lot of other things. So, and thank you. You helped me achieve this goal tonight. To host. Last but not least, I want to achieve top 1%. Now this sounds insane, doesn't it? I don't look like Tim Ferriss. I don't know Tony Robbins. But to achieve top 1%, to give you a little clue in on that, there's 2 million, it might be an old stat, there's probably more, but there's 2 million podcasts on Apple. 25% have 1 episode. Think about that. And then 99% of them only go to 20 episodes. This is basically episode 17. I've got 2 scheduled up. For some reason, they're sitting next to each other. We've got Ian and Jordan scheduled up in September. They're happening to be sick. This was not rehearsed. This will take me to 19. So if you have any recommendations, if there's anyone that would benefit from the podcast, please let me know. I can make it to 21. I can be a happy man. I can die and go to heaven. Okay? So achieve top 1%. So I want to give you a peek behind the mirror. This is kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to be transparent here. This is me. You can do podcasts for cheaper, for sure. You can record on your phone, whatever you want to do. This is my podcast stack. Calendly, I know some of you use Calendly for work. It is a godsend. It is amazing. It's one of the most amazing pieces of software in this podcast stack, simply because it's very easy. You don't have to go, hey, are you free 1 to 3 on Wednesday? It's so nice to be able to schedule things. Buzzsprout distributes the podcast, right? And it's an embedded player as well on the website. I had to have a website just because of who I am. You don't have to have a website. Vimeo, SoundCloud, you can see the rest. Canva Pro, does anyone use Canva in here? Insanely good software, right? I think so many kids are growing up with Canva, just using it in schools. I mean, it's like, I don't know how much market share it's taken away from Adobe, but it's insanely good. Down at the bottom, I got a few AI things. Thanks to Sierra Opus Clip. I mean, you can basically upload an hour-long video. It'll cut it up into content clips for you in about 15 minutes. It's insane. It's not always perfect. Remember, AI can generate things. They can't add the nuance. They can't do certain things, right? We're the captain, guys. We're the captain. They're the co-pilot. Never forget. Okay, and then Zapier makes you happier. I've heard this before. I don't know who, does anyone use Zapier here? It's insanely good at automating. It can connect like 5,000 different apps, okay? So you can create all kinds of crazy workflows with it. You can even make your own chatbot now because it has a way to connect to ChatGPT. You can put some parameters around there and have your own, you can have a Kyle chatbot if you want to. So I'm just barely getting into that. And then I just want to show you, of course, you can go crazy. You can, have a recording device like a Rodecaster. You can get nice cameras. Sierra has a super nice camera back there. So you can start to go crazy. Rev is really good for transcripts if you need a human to kind of review it if you don't have time, but it's about $100 per episode. And then, of course, Adobe Creative Suite. You can use contractors, and then Danny's not here. I can tell you after how much it costs to have a virtual membership to Kiln. I didn't want to reveal it from him because maybe they do different things for different people. But I just didn't want to record in my mom's basement or my wife's basement. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to record Kiln. And then, so my 5 key learnings interviewing entrepreneurs. First of all, this came from Benoy Tamang's mentor. He shared this on his podcast. Benoy was asking him a lot of questions, and the guy said, just start. So what I've learned from all of you entrepreneurs is that at some point you just have to start. You can't take another class, listen to another podcast, wait until your degree is finished. You just start. And I've seen that in every podcast guest I've had on the show. Key learning number 2, believe, right? Every one of these entrepreneurs believes in themselves. And I found that that is the key skill for an entrepreneur or anyone that's successful. There's belief in God. You can believe in all kinds of things. You can believe in political parties, whatever it is. But believing in yourself is fundamental to success. I've seen it time and time again interviewing these guests on the podcast. Key learning number 3, relationships. I have one. I have a life partner. Jennifer's here. Give it up for Jennifer. I am not even standing here without a life partner supporting this. There's no way I'm standing here on a Thursday night when there's a Fantagram concert or something else that needs to happen. My daughter's here as well supporting, but everyone I've talked to, whether it's a life partner, Ben is a perfect example. I want Holly on the podcast simply because of Ben's podcast. Ben talking about Holly's authenticity and being the authenticity police. Amazing. Like, I love you for that. Seriously. Ben is such a great example of relationships and relationship building. But no one can be successful alone. Can't. I mean, no one's going to create a company that's successful without relationships. And it starts with your own personal relationships, because you bring that, as Benoy talks about in his book as well, you bring that right into it. And so it's not just customer relationships, it's your personal relationships, it's your employee relationships. Key learning number 4, learn by doing. Terry Allen was a perfect example of this. He was the founder of Elenco, mascots, did the Jazz Bear, did like 80% of the NBA mascots. He said that there's no amount of schooling. You can go to school, but it's the project that's right in front of you that is key and fundamental to learning. And I bet you everyone in this room learned by doing. I know Ben and Ian just started, 7 years ago, a business. They've never been entrepreneurs before. They have learned so much in 7 years. They don't have an MD and PhD. I mean, they have some kind of degree that's crazy, right, for business. So learn by doing. And lastly, key learning number 5, it's life-changing. I've seen Jason Steen talked about how life-changing. I mean, he rose from the ashes like a phoenix and started a company again. Now he's got 20 employees. He gets to work with his wife. I mean, it's an amazing story about how life-changing being in business for yourself is. So I'm very subjective or objective. I don't know what. I guess I'm objective, right? I'm not an entrepreneur. But I just want to thank each of you for being an entrepreneur. It's so inspiring to sit across the table from each of you. And I want to thank everyone that's been on the podcast. I've got 5 of 15 speakers speaking tonight, y'all. Come on, bring it up. It's insane. This is insane. So let me go back to my chair and play host. So I want to welcome the first guests to the stage. Again, no flash photography. Just joking. but I want you to give it up when I'm ready. This guy is a 7-times entrepreneur. He's an amazing person. He is helping with his company, Van Industries. He's helping the underdog. He's an author that just published a book. If you haven't done it already, his book, there's a QR code right out there. Download it. It's called The Little Book. The Little Book on Big Growth. Sorry, just have this. He was my former boss, current friend. Give it up for Benoy Tamang.
Hello. Thanks, everyone. We're going to go fast because I want to answer questions. I'm really grateful to be invited by Kyle. Great to meet new friends, and I hope you can always access me. I was thinking about that. I do have a QR code, and you just type your name in and say, "Hey, we met. Was it 3M?" So whatever it takes, let's go and talk. Did I go the right direction? Okay, I'm going to blast through this, and I want to talk about 3 elements that I have learned over mistakes that will help anyone, not just form a business, but be trusted as a leader. And it's simple, but I want to express it through a couple of images. First of all, just before COVID, I took my 4th trip to Base Camp Everest. And so this is a picture of some of the friends that I took along. And we're shouting and saying, yes, we made it, and we called it D3. Let's do a D3 pose. Everyone, yes, which means diarrhea-free. We're in the 3rd world. We are schlepping it through whatever it takes to get there. And ultimately, our goal is to get to base camp. But it almost invariably happens, one of them didn't make to the top. Didn't make it as in, just didn't make it to the top. Couldn't do it. He actually hit a wall, and we had to helicopter him out. What happened was, he was a fit, buff dude. Greg, I won't tell you his last name. He would take a few steps. We are at about 17,500 feet up, so you're about 50% oxygen. And his heart rate would go from a normal 90 at that point, resting is 90, all the way up to 190, 200. So he got really dizzy. And he'd have to stop, we'd have to stop the whole gang, wait for him. 10 minutes later, his heart rate would come down to normal, 90, feel better, and take a few steps and spike up. There's no way we could go forward. So we had to helicopter him out, and the rest of us continued. I'm sharing that with you because I want to talk about how and I'm calling it the 3 C's of effective leadership. Okay? And leadership for me comes down to building trust. It's got to be where people want to follow you because they feel safe. And no matter what the size of your organization is as a startup, or whether you've got a massive enterprise, we can feel this as we go through this. Number 1, and I'm putting it in order of easiness to build. And I'm going to talk about communication this way. Communication for me is not what you say. It's whether or not they received it in the way that it was intended. It's not what you say, how you say it. It's whether or not they received it. And I can tell you right now, when Greg was having trouble up there at high altitude, I said, Greg, we can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to support you going for the last leg all the way to base camp because you're not going to make it. And I want to take care of your safety. Do you understand me in that fog brain of yours, right? And then he mumbled something. He was on oxygen. He had an oxygen pulse oximeter on him, and we could see where his O2 reading was. And he mumbled something like, yes. And then I said, no, that's not good enough. Tell me what you understood of what I just said. This is important, right? Did I communicate clearly? Did you understand? And he said, you support me going down. I cannot go up. I'm okay with that. Great. It worked. We communicated. He understood. My kids will attest. Even my wife Angela, cutie pie, she is so focused on certain things, she zones out. Right? So I'm leaving the house. Hey, sweetie, I'm gonna go do this and this. She's on the computer. Yeah. And I said, I'll stop. What did I just say? Please? Because this is what we figured out after being together for a long time. She goes, you said you're leaving and you'll come back such and such. I said, thank you. Right? And off we go. It's simple things like that. And I tell my CEOs, hey, if you have a verbal, make sure you follow it up with a written, whether it be text or whatever, so that there's no ambiguity. Because everyone's got their heads busy in this project, this and this, and you're walking by and you say something and you say, I told them. And then you have issues down the road and you wonder why. Everyone's got noise. You've got to be very clear about that. I'm going through this fast because I want to answer some questions. The second one is this. I mean, even if you go back to communication, if you know that you're going to be late for a meeting and you tell people, I'm going to be a few minutes late, does that make you feel good, right? Oh, good. She didn't forget. Communication is so easy to build trust. What if the person doesn't talk well, communicate right, but they always show up? They always do what they say. That builds trust and consistency, right? So on many Everest trips, I've taken 4, on this particular Everest trip, there was this particular person who was having trouble losing some of the excess weight she had gained from just having a baby. And she wanted to go. I said, okay, let's see what you can do. Her name is Deirdre. I said, can you just do this and this and this? And she reported every day she did this. She reported, she wanted accountability. She was consistent. Guess what? She made it to the top. Past grade. Because she was consistent at work. Right? It's almost like, I trust you because you always do what you say you do. You always show up. That gives me a level of trust. And as a leader, I will trust you more, leader, if you do what you say. There's so much I can tell you and share with you. Last one is competency, because you don't want to go to a doctor who is a surgeon and he didn't go to school, right? You've got to have at least a level of expertise in your area, or whatever it is, websites to strategy to whatever. You've got to build that. But this one I think is harder, right, in terms of how long it takes to build the expertise. You can be a competent, trusted leader from day one just by working on communication, being clear, confirming receipt of message, making sure you're consistent. When it comes to competency, I have seen brilliant MBA, Harvard people who are superbly gifted intellectually and smart. I actually had a startup where I had such a companion, but he lost trust because he thought he could wing it. He was not consistent because he was smart. And he never communicated intentions or checked for understanding. Can you see that? I just think these two can trump this ultimately, because people will believe you and say, okay, maybe he's not the most brilliant CEO, but he cares. Communicates, he always shows up. I'll follow him. Makes sense? And I am blasting through this. Please contact me through here. Business cards no longer exist. Whether you take a photo there or it's outside there. And I am available to help communicate, connect with anyone here. I will help anyone. I have a whole story as to why I started what I've started, but we don't have enough time. But I do want to help any one of you. And I'm 8 minutes? Oh, I'm a stickler for timing. My father was in the British Army. I want to help answer any questions the rest of the time. Any questions, any topic. Doesn't matter. There's no sacred topic. Anything. From families to businesses to employees. Questions. Sir.
What are some moments when you realized you were struggling with communication?
Oh, that would be 10 hours worth of. So I have so many. Easy. Hey, VP, we got to do this and this is a priority. Is that good? Can you make that, bump that up? And the VP says, yeah. This is me being CEO. Got it. All right, good. All right, boom, take off, right? And you go, what happened? What I failed to do was ask, VP, what other priorities do you have that would conflict with making my request number one? I didn't do that. I didn't check. I just was moving from one thing to another. I got another meeting. This is cold. It just didn't work. And so you then have a gap. And then you have a gap in you. And for me, it's fuming. Where's that gap? How come we didn't do it? The story's building up. Right? It's stupid. All I have to do is just ask at that point, what else you've got? What would stop you from making it number one? Employees. I've got lots of that. Anybody else? Questions?
The idea of being overwhelmed. I'm curious if you have kind of thoughts on techniques or things that one should do as a leader when you are the one feeling overwhelmed, which it's me from time to time. It's just like, oh, there's so much, like hard to prioritize or things like that. Just seeing that word and hearing what you said are their initial approaches or things you'd say, like when you feel that, you should do this, or other things that you'd say to that.
Brilliant question. So let me tackle it in multiple ways. I'm going to go fast, okay? Number one, if you're a solo contributor versus you've got a team, the solo contributor, it almost goes to, it's a little deep, but it goes back to, do you know who you are and what your purpose is? Important way I phrase that. Because if you know what your purpose is, stay with me, then you'll know what your activities should be in what order of priority in life, not just work. And if you're really disciplined, then you spend every week figuring out what's important and what allocation of time you'll have for that. You can see. Otherwise, you're just spinning like a hamster in a wheel because you're chasing something, but you don't know who you are, what your purpose is. It's a bit deep. But I want to jump in. Number two, if you've got a team, you have to learn how to let go. Because we started everything up, we solved every problem by ourselves. Then you have to learn how to delegate, which goes back to consistency, communication, and competence. You got to acquire those skills, right? And the prioritization of what's important to delegate to who's best at doing it. It's a quick response. That's great. Does that help? Does that help? One over there. Yes.
I was wondering if a CEO reaches out to you with top 1 or 2 problems or situations that they're in, you see who's coming, reach out to you.
I'll give you the top 2 with no hesitation. Number 1, work-life balance. This is just completely frayed. Their health is usually poor. They have sniffles, you can even see it. I had one current CEO who said, thank you. For what? He says, you told me to go see a doctor. I've got low testosterone and I'm just 40. Now I know why I'm dragging. Work-life balance. Right? Goes back to even your question. Number 2, without any doubt. I call it unconscious incompetence. They're not aware of their fear-driven mindset. that sucks their effectiveness, their ability to make magic happen, because they're not even aware of it. You think it'd be, strategy, pricing, product market fit, which is all important in the tech world. This UI, unconscious incompetence, just, if you look at this formula, it drains it. If this is a formula where you have these elements on top and it's a denominator, any number more than 1 is going to crucify the effectiveness.
I do have a question. How do you know when you need to end when you're not a good fit for an overwhelmed tech CEO? Or when they're not a good fit for you?
Okay, are you talking about for the business or for me, the coach?
The coach.
Okay, when do I know they're not a good fit? When they're not teachable. It's easy. I call them turds. It's a very technical term, right? I don't associate with turds. I don't have time. I don't want to waste my time. But you can tell, it's just not ready, right? So you want to help them offer, but if you have to push string, it's not going to work. So I don't work with turds. We're running out of time.
One more question.
So, following up on that question, you got a CEO who's a term. Do you have that conversation with them? You tell them you see they have the conversation. What's that look like? Is it a surprise to them if they're now a creative founder and no longer?
I'm going through, there's a myriad of responses to that. It depends on who recommended that person to come to me. If it was a self-aware CEO saying, I need help, I tell him, dude, I have somebody else that I can refer you to, right? I think there may be a better match, especially if they're not ready to receive that message directly. It's a sort of a glancing blow of a response. If it's the VC, well, that's easy to do. Yes, part of the reason why you have a problem with this company is the CEO is not humble. I cannot help this particular CEO. And it's great. It's accurate, straight to the point, and it's not taken in any squirmy fashion. It's just delivered. The older I get, the more direct I become. Because it's the only accurate, honest way to conduct life. I'm a stickler for time. We've run out of 15 minutes. Thank you for asking questions. Hope that helped. Give it up for the final question for the five CEOs.
Aaron, come on in. What's up? All right, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Guerrilla Marketing B2B influencer April Hey Frampton.
How are you guys doing? Great. All right. So here's a little story, just really quick. How Hey Ape came to be. I have been called Ape since I have been literally a kid. So who knew one day, my name would actually be like a value pack. Companies keep track of that by Hey Ape code. So if you get a little thing that says Hey Ape, that's how a tracking system is for guerrilla marketing. How many of you hey, I just have to give a quick shout out. I've known Kyle since we've been, well, probably since elementary school? Yes. And because I had entrepreneur on my Instagram, that's when he reached out. When I started this journey, almost 4 years ago, my goal was to be a speaker and to learn podcasting, and I just nailed both of them. Thank you. Let's give it up for Kyle. So yes, it is true. I am Hey Ape on the side of my car. It was silver. It is now black metallic. It has the rocker horse sign. It says Hey Ape. People see it. They follow me at my Instagram. So, how many of you have heard the term guerrilla marketer? How many know what it actually means? Anybody?
Marketing without a budget.
Bingo. I cannot tell you how many times over the last year, so thank you to Sean Bandit at Nothing But Cakes. This all started it. I'm a filmmaker. I have a background in filmmaking, networking, and marketing. I'm sitting in a meeting for production. And I'm sitting there listening to these guys, and all of a sudden my head started spinning, and I was like, in 10 years, they never said, April, what's your vision? It was all their vision. It was never mine. They never said, hey, what do you want to do? I literally walked away from there, and I said, I don't have a clue. No, I had it all the whole time. Thank you for not ever asking me that, because it pushed me to become something that I've always had. I just didn't know it. So I came up with this idea for marketing, and I called the owner of Bun Cakes. Now, Nothing But Cakes is a franchise. It is out of Vegas. He had just moved up here, and I called him, and I said, I have this crazy idea. What if I take your product out to other companies, and let's see what kind of response that we get. The problem is that Bun Cakes has a code, which I have some coupons. If you want some, I would be happy to share them with you. He didn't know how much business I was bringing. Now, for a franchise owner, about 8% is a very high average to bring in product. I was bringing in 14% by going out. To date, and this is not events, I have given out 30,000 Bun Cakes. That is one company. I have given out thousands of products. So here it is. It only took one person to believe in an idea. He believed in me. He trusted me. 110%, he trusted me. Every company that I work with, all that food that's out there, it is literally hundreds of dollars worth of food. My requirements, other than, I charge them to do what I do, but I require them to give me discounts and products. Those are my two musts. It's not negotiable with me. Because what I realized early on, I have a very set platform. Businesses who do not follow my platform, it's not me following theirs. No, not at all. I learned early on, they will fail. I will fail. Because somebody has to hold the line and be accountable to everything you say and everything you do. So Sean Manda believed in me. And that's where Hey Ape, so every company I work with, they have a tracking code. So this is the term of guerrilla marketing. It is product in hand on a shoestring budget. Organic marketing is face-to-face. I do both. And because I am a filmmaker, I don't introduce myself as April the filmmaker. In the beginning, I didn't know who April was. I was a filmmaker, I was a makeup artist, I was a producer, I was all these things, and a company's like, I still remember this. I was talking to the manager of Mercedes in Farmington. And he's like, what the heck is she talking about? I'm like, over-explaining. I'm like trying to explain myself. I didn't know what I was explaining. And it hit me. I was at Gordon's, and I said, I am a guerrilla marketer. I am taking all these products for all these people, and I'm driving traffic. I did this in the middle of a pandemic. I set an event up for Target, Home Depot, Chick-fil-A. All I did was change the verbiage. Instead of saying, come to my event, I said, come to my Employee Appreciation Day. Sometimes you have to meet customers' demand, and you have to listen. You have to listen. Don't tell them what you think, because they don't care what you think. What they care is results. So, and I have, what, 2 more minutes? Okay. I'm gonna show you something. I was inspired to show you my mistake, because this was very clear to me. So, you see, I am an old school marketer who meets social media, okay? I started doing these boards, which are really kind of old school, but they make sense to me. And here's the thing that why it makes sense. Even if you feel like maybe something doesn't make sense, this was what I started. And I'm like, this looks terrible. I'm gonna start it over again. All I can say is with this, start what you finish. Just do it. That is it, just do it. Even if it seems really crazy, just do it. So, I'm gonna set this on its side. I have about 1 more minute, and so this right here is a vision board. To date, I have done my 200th vision board. What does that mean? That's 200 companies have one of these. I went 2 days ago for a meeting. It is hung up in the owner's office as a reminder of what I made a promise to them, okay? So when I meet with a company, it is, so if you do not know what you want to do, create your why. Don't create someone else's why. What is your why? Create it. The next part is help show their why. And what does that mean? Everybody has a why, and a company has their why, okay? The other thing, have you ever had somebody color code you? I color code companies, meaning I pay attention to their marketing, their branding. Bun Cakes is blue. When I post on social media, I post in blue. Hungry Howie's is yellow and orange. I post for them in yellow and orange because it helps brand them. The companies, I have them pick 5 focuses. I tell them to dumb it down. Let's focus on 3, and we focus on 3 for 90 days. I will not work with a company if they will not work with me for 90 days. I'm not going to work with them because too much time goes by for not a commitment. If they're not committed, I can't be committed, and my marketing will not work. If they're not engaged, and that's it. So that is what a guerrilla marketer. I don't have to explain myself a million times. When I walk in, people are like, "Oh, I get what you do." So there you go. All I can say is just be authentic, be truthful, and just be very straightforward with what your intention is. And just do it. And there you go. And thank you, Kyle, for
Thanks, April. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage food and beverage founder, investor, and startup consultant, and also fellow podcaster of the Make a Dent podcast, Sierra McCleve.
Yeah, there it is, okay. I was gonna make him play the song again, and then he could dance into the table, and I could just stand here and watch him. I'm gonna set this up because, I gotta have notes, okay? I'm gonna have some notes, and it's gonna be good for all of you, because I'm very much more likely to stay on track. So, give me one second. This. Okay, thank you so much. Kyle, you're amazing. I do want to say thank you. It has been so exciting, such an honor. It was an honor to be on the podcast. I'm just so impressed with you and this event. Like, let's give it up for Kyle. Thank you so much. All right, so diving in here. Again, my name is Sierra McCleve. I spent the better part of the last 10 years in the food and beverage world, restaurant business. Learned a whole bunch and been able to take a lot of those lessons, and now it's so freaking fun because I get to go do my favorite parts of business, stuff I'm really good at, with other companies and do some consulting. And it's incredible. I feel super, super lucky to do that. I kind of focus on and specialize in startups, like the first 2 years is really what kind of my niche is for that. That's been super, super fun. I've been grateful that I've been able to do that. So, just a little tiny bit about my journey that I'm going to get into the topic today, which is leave them better, and it is creating lifetime customers, which if we can do that, then we'll make money and our jobs as entrepreneurs are successful, right? So I started my first business in 2013. It's a bakery, a kolache bakery. How many have had a kolache ever in their life? Okay, has anyone had Dottie's kolaches? It's okay, it's up in Heber, it's fine, you didn't want to drive up, it's okay. I was open for about 8 or 9 years, and it's a Czech pastry. It's like the most kind of random thing to start, especially. I never wanted to be a baker. If you have a question about that, I'll talk to you after. It's kind of a funny story. Never wanted to be a baker. I was for 8 years, and I could bake 3 things super freaking well. That's it. That's it. So don't ask me about like cakes and cupcakes and stuff because I can't do that. But I do cinnamon rolls and kolache super well, and a couple other things. Started that in 2013, and I feel very, very lucky because at the start of my entrepreneurial journey, I was influenced before there were influencers, and one of the main ones that really, I think, strikes home for the conversation we're having today about creating lifetime customers was Tony Hsieh of Zappos.com. Is anyone familiar with Tony Hsieh or Zappos.com? Did anyone buy anything ever from Zappos.com? Let's go. Okay. Tony's my guy. R.I.P. Tony Hsieh. He wrote a book called Delivering Happiness, and that book, I mean, quite a few ones, having friends and influence people, but that one really set a good foundation for me on this idea of company culture and creating an exceptional customer experience via company culture, which I'm going to circle back to. So, because of these influencers, and because I read them when I was quite young, and when I was at the point where I could really grasp the concept of owning a business, because that was really my dream, wasn't to own a bakery, it was to own a business. When I could grasp that concept, I knew that I wanted to make it special. And I wanted it to really mean something, and something that would make a dent in the lives of the customers and the employees. Super, super important to me. So I built that into all my businesses. I started another business in 2016 called Thirst Drinks here in Salt Lake. Have you guys heard of Thirst Drinks? All right. So that one started in 2016, and both of them, I had this idea that I wanted the company culture to be really solid. It was super important. Our tagline at Thirst actually is happy drinks and treats. We say have a happy day to every single customer that goes through the drive-thru. That business, like I said, it's 2016. We now have 6 stores, and we're trending to do over $4 million in revenue this year. A lot of people have helped us get there. It's been really fun. And I think a lot of that has had to do with us prioritizing the customer experience. Another thing that I did for both of my companies is I created a couple core values. I'm going to share them with you because it's all going to tie in at the end. One of the core values I used in both businesses was leave them better. If you guys are just starting, I know a couple of you are just starting your businesses or kind of into it a couple of years. Core values are so important for so many reasons, but leave them better, meaning for my employees, it was leave your fellow teammates better. So they come in, they're having a hard day, leave them better than you found them. Do their dishes. Okay, I'm going to talk restaurant world here, okay? Do their dishes, ask them how it is. Same thing with our customers. Leave them better than you found them. Another one was don't give crap, don't take crap. That one, it's actually a family motto. I actually directed into my business, so that's a family motto we use. So, meaning, don't give anyone a hard time, and then if someone's giving you a hard time, let's say, like, you stand up for yourself. I didn't go tell my employees to pick fights with people, okay? But I'm just saying, like, we encourage them to, not give anyone a hard time, but also not take it if they happen to them, which happens all the time. There are quite a few things that I've learned that I teach now on the topic of creating lifetime customers. We don't have a lot of time together today, so I'm just going to cut like right to the meat and potatoes. And I want to briefly just gauge what you guys think. So I'm going to just give you, just for free, the number one thing that I coach people on creating lifetime customers, repeat customers. But I want to see what you guys think first. So just a little bit of audience participation. What do you guys think? I'll call all of you. The number one thing that you need to do to create lifetime customers is what comes to mind? Raise your hand if you can. Experience. Okay, like the customer experience? Amazing. Excellent choice. Customer experience, Benoy thinks is number one. It's a great option. What's another answer? What's another choice? Delivery, meeting the expectations of your customers. How you treat and nurture your employees. Awesome. Very bright crowd. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you for participating. Incredible answers. Incredible answers. Okay, so through my hands-on business journey, consulting work, and study of numerous companies both large and small, the single factor that consistently distinguishes massively successful enterprises that continually attract and retain loyal customers is, so we need our band for the drum roll, company culture, and I think vis-a-vis employee satisfaction really. So you got it. I had a sticker for you. It's in the back. So employee satisfaction. Now, how many people here have ever heard the saying that the customer is always right? Or maybe you've said it. Just be honest. This is a family now. Let's see it. Okay, customer's always right. I heard this very early. I had some sales jobs, and that was what we were taught. And if you're teaching that in your organization now, I would say probably shift that slightly. Here's what I mean. My notes say to say that. To say that is a load of crap, but okay. Let me tell you, I'm not saying don't provide a good customer service. I'm not saying don't go above and beyond. You need to do those things, but I'm not sure that the customer's always right is the best thing to teach our employees. So I think that this final story to wrap up here, this is going to illustrate this. I really do believe that if you focus on your employees and creating a positive company culture, it directly translates to the customer experience. And if you neglect that, then you can live for a while, but you're not going to maybe achieve the success and longevity that you could if you would focus on this. So if you, what industries do we have here? We have tech. What other industries? Food and beverage, restaurant. What do we got? What else? Advertising, marketing, guerrilla marketing. What else? That covers it? All right, cool. Well, think about, translate this. Communication, education, great. So this brief story I'm going to tell you kind of, I think, highlights this and tells it in the way it is basically in the restaurant business, because that's where I lived for a long time. So I had an employee who was working the drive-through line. Her name is Bailey. Drive-through for the businesses that I've created, they're the quarterback. They are so important. They have face-to-face interaction with the customers. They smile. They're the ones who are upholding those core values, creating a great customer experience, providing the product in the right way, like fulfilling the delivery right, and moving cars ahead too so the line moves quickly. That's important in the drive-thru. No one wants to wait forever. So she was working the line, and I think we got this customer's order wrong or something. And they left the line, probably got their own clutch, and freaked out and came back to tell us. But they weren't just like, hey, you messed up. They were yelling, like they lost it. They were using language that none of us would use in front of our mothers, okay? And Bailey was she took care of it, and it crossed the line at one point from just them complaining to like they were like really berating them. So at that point, when I could see we took care of it and no one needed to do that, I had a couple options, right? And in this scenario, you would have to. We'll say scenario one, the customer's always right. You could teach your employee just to deal with it, make it right, say I'm sorry, continue to get yelled at until they go away, like give them their money back, whatever. In that scenario, typically what I've seen is, I'll see what you guys think. Do you think the employee felt empowered after that interaction, if that's the scenario one? Do you think that they had energy to then go provide an exceptional customer experience to the next 50 to 100 cars they have to work that day? Not so much in that first scenario. And it takes a long time to reset too when that's happened. Has anyone ever had like a customer service job where you've just gotten like yelled at and just had to like sit and take it? And not pleasant. I worked at Best Buy for years. Anyway, customer service. So I've seen that too. So that's scenario one. That's typically what can happen. Scenario two, and this is what happened. The customer was screaming, yelling, calling her names. I stepped in and said, look, we've taken care of it. We said, we're sorry, we fixed it, we apologize. You can't talk to my team that way. You need to go now. They continued to and they finally left. When that happened, this is my favorite part of business. I'm getting chills with this. When that happened, when I stepped in and showed my team that I had her back, that I supported her, she lit up. She knew that from then on that I would support her. And I don't think she'd experienced that. And typically you don't, especially in my world, don't typically see that enough, I don't think. She felt empowered, she was lit up. She only took a minute to recover. She did take some, her adrenaline was high, but she only took a minute and then she had the energy to go back and really, really provide the exceptional customer experience to all those 50 to 100 customers. If scenario one had happened, I guarantee at least a good percentage of those 50 to 100 customers would have not received the customer experience that we wanted. So, now whether that be, you're selling kolaches to people or you are selling millions of dollars worth of software, I think the principle can translate to, if you really want to, one final thing, let me just point this out too, kind of long-term effects. That employee, I hired her when she was a junior. She ended up staying for 4 years. She became an assistant manager and a manager for me, very young. 4 years in the restaurant world is like 30 years in like in the other industry. So like that's saying something. She stayed for a long time, and her staying, the effect that she had on all my other customers and the revenue that she was able to bring in and the peace of mind that she was able to bring as a manager far outweighed that one experience with that one customer. So just to sum up, if you want to blow your competition out of the water, if you want to level up and start tracking on a path to become untouchable in your industry, if you want to have customers begging to buy from you over and over and over again, take care of your employees. Diligently and intentionally create an exceptionally good company culture so you can create an environment where you feel that your team feels that you're taken care of, where they can see and buy into your long-term vision, where they are eager and excited to take care of customers because you take care of them. I hope I've left you guys a little better than I found you today, and I hope that you truly have a happy day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the man who brings the dude and dad energy to his company and to his band, Benjamin Moffat.
I'm a guitar player, so I've never been behind a mic. But it is an absolute pleasure to be here. One of my longtime friends and business partner, Ian Bowles, is in the audience. Ian, thanks for being here. I somehow ended up in the video industry. I was a bit of a late bloomer. Got my degree at 34. Got my first job in the advertising industry as a receptionist and oatmeal bowl cleaner. I'd run to anywhere the creatives or the executives would need to get their lunch or their dry cleaning or their wine. And I really came up from the very ground. So I have learned in my time a little bit about the power of brand, a little bit about the power of video. And today I want to talk about how video builds brand equity. See,
if I get this the right way. Perfect. So brand equity is a very bland term. I never would use that in regular conversation. So let's look at how it is defined. Brand equity, the extra value a company generates by having a recognizable name compared to their generic equivalent. What does that mean? Oops. We got it. Which one of these is the most popular ketchup company? You know. One of these companies is making a lot more money selling ketchup than the other, even though I may be a market pantry consumer myself. I do have a 9-year-old. But I think this image visualizes what brand equity really is. And you can read the technical definition of brand equity, but there's this gentleman named Leo Burnett who, you gotta admit, that guy's got a good look going on. He was born in 1890. He was one of the original Madison Avenue Mad Men. And has everyone seen the show Mad Men? The old school early advertising days, smoking in the office. Well, Leo Burnett said this about brand equity. Before you can have a share of the market, you must have a share of mine. And, you know, good brands know this, and they spend a shit ton of time and money to occupy moments of your life. And I think this image does a great job. You think about this. We're in front of the NASDAQ. I know every single one of these except for this cat. Do you guys know who that is? But I mean, as you look at this, did you guys grow up with some of these characters? Did you associate what brand they're a part of? You're looking at the cereal aisle, do you think, yeah, it's probably, you know, Toucan Sam. He's the one. So what I'm saying is that companies put a lot of time and effort into building brand equity. And we've kind of grown up in this, there's this new world where everything's performance marketing. What has this ad done for me in 10 minutes? How many views did I get? How many likes? You know, and brand equity is a long-term play. It's Chester Cheetah. It's 20 plus years reinforcing again and again. So now that you kind of have an understanding of brand equity, how does video work into the context of brand equity? Well, the first thing I can say is people love video. Even stodgy old rich folks that never smile. By the way, Succession is a great show if you haven't seen it. You know, and we don't just love video, fully addicted to it. How many people here play on their phone watching TV at night? That more of you guys do, don't lie. Or look at your phone before bed, or, you know, anytime. We're straight up addicted to our phones and watching videos on our phones and devices. So the interesting thing about that is we're watching all sorts of weird stuff. I have a friend that I work with that loves to watch videos about antique anvils being restored. And he'll watch it and talk about it, and then I love videos about guitar pedals. I'll let you know. We all have our thing, right? I think this stat, first off, I don't have any, I'm not citing anything, but this is Q4 of last year, age range is 16 to 64, type of video content being consumed worldwide. I really thought music videos would not be that high, but I think people are watching all sorts of stuff, which is the point I'm trying to make. You can see there's influencers, sports clips, you know, product reviews, tutorials on how to. In each of these buckets, there is a chance for companies to have a conversation with their customers in some way, whether it's a sponsorship tag or a pre-roll ad. So what I'm really saying here is if a company wants to talk to their audience, video always works. So I want to get right into a few examples and a few favorites, just companies that I think are doing a great job of building brand equity via video. So I'm going to show a few videos here. This first one is your classic YouTube pre-roll, 6-second format. You don't have a lot, but you need to make something happen. Here we go. Oh. That one see if you'll remember the general, like, there's not a call to action here necessarily. There is some reinforcement of the company's mission, but it was strictly a video to make you laugh and then, association with the brand. Here's one from Amazon. It's amazing.
It's just flawless, isn't it?
I think so.
I mean, I literally couldn't imagine a more beautiful vessel for Alexa to be inside. Alexa, how many tablespoons are in a cup?
There are 16 tablespoons in a cup.
Babe, food just got here. Why you cooking? What's that?
You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And French is tu es la femme la plus belle que j'ai jamais vue.
Alexa, turn on the sprinklers.
Honey, I already ran the sprinklers. Alexa, stop. Things are getting way too wet around here.
Alexa, dim the lights.
Let's lights up. Lights up.
Add bath oils to my shopping list.
Alexa, no. Don't do that.
Be my book.
I was in his hands. I was being changed. All the
Do you know if we have any extra ones, please? I know probably not using this one.
I was a kiss you. That everything was breaking and changing and turning in me.
Honey, other people have to use the bathroom around here too.
It's such a great spot. It would have been so easy, and someone on brand, product marketing was like, we need to talk about its bandwidth. We need to talk about the specs. People, they're going to want that. No, they want an emotional connection with your brand. They want to share this with someone. They want to just feel something. And then if it's associated with your brand, they're going to remember it. Here's one other one from a famous company. I remember the first day Ian showed me this commercial. It's a great example of solving something very technical with a very simple metaphor.
A better network, as explained by a door. This is data on a wireless network.
Look, a door! Let's all go through it together!
When it gets busy, it can get overwhelmed, like this. A better network prepares for heavy traffic with more capacity.
The door is bigger!
A better network, like Verizon, for instance.
I'm ready for a big door!
That spot, how old is that spot, Ian? Is that 10 plus years? We still reference this when we're meeting with clients to, pitch ideas, or we'll revisit it. A simple, powerful metaphor. Verizon, they have the best network, right? Everyone knows that. They continue to reinforce that. They do it in a fun and engaging way. I think this is a great example of a company, talking to their customers and building brand equity. Now, I'm going to do a couple of shameless plugs for the company where Ian and I work, Gantry. So, these may not be on the level of a Verizon, but I think they're pretty close.
When I started at Adobe, I wasn't sure what to expect.
Turns out, it's a company full of data scientists, engineers, researchers, marketers, sales professionals, and designers.
As an intern, I experienced a place where creativity is unrestricted.
A culture where we love collaborating across teams to solve problems.
I found a place where I belong, where I can do real work and make an impact.
Adobe invests in its people and celebrates their diversity.
Joining Adobe is more than a career choice. It's a decision to change the world through digital experiences.
It was a very successful video for Adobe, a very complicated video to condense down to 30 seconds. But I think it does a great job of saying a very, specific message in a fun and compelling way. I'm going to show you one more video from Gantry. And for this one, it was a lesser-known tech company that wanted to speak directly to developers. And they wanted to talk to developers so that they would spin up this company's servers and be more productive and basically produce better work. So our team came up with this great.
Once upon a time, there was a developer who could bend his world to his will. With but a few clicks, he spun up the mightiest of apps, poetically applying predictable pricing to scale his servers. He created without end because his tools understood him. He was a merciful and benevolent king.
Wait! Good job getting that app to production on time.
Thanks. And now the CEO knows his name.
What was that?
Nothing.
Live happily developer on with DigitalOcean.
Thank you for the shameless self-plug. So, all this culminates that when done right, videos are the perfect medium to help build brand equity. And I think cornerstones of brand equity are loyalty. I mean, I'm not asking anyone to get a gantry tattoo. You can if you want. But a familiarity with the brand, the loyalty, the company associating themselves with something that's meaningful. It's not just the product. It's not just the service. And it is a long play. You know, it is the exact opposite of performance marketing. And I see when companies do it right, I see the long-term value. And those are the companies that I always like to work with. And then the ones that just chase, you know, what metrics did we get in, you know, this month? How many sales did that drive? That stuff has its place, but unless you are consistently investing in the equity of your brand, there's a good chance that you're going to fizzle. There's a good chance that you're not going to be memorable. You don't necessarily need to have your own Chester Cheetah, but you could consistently pump out content that stands for something, represents your brand. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. So when it's time to build a video for your own brand, just remember this. Make it simple, make it memorable, make it inviting to look at, and make it fun to read. Thank you very much for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage a speaker, master certified life and business coach, founder of Soul Salt and author of Soul Salt, your personal field guide to confidence, purpose, and fulfillment, and a complete badass, Lynn Christian.
So thank you for having me here tonight and also for showing up and staying till the last. My brand is all about what's inside of you, salt of your soul. So if you will allow me, I'll do what I do day in and day out. I'll be your temporary coach. Is that okay? So part of our job as a coach is to challenge, part of it's to hold you accountable, part of it's to clarify what is it that you're going for, part of it's to kick your butt when you need it, hold your hand when you need it, cheerlead when you need it. I'm going to choose challenge to start with. So if you'll go there with me just for a moment, we're going to talk about how to be authentic and how to be an entrepreneur. Because when you put those two together, you are unstoppable. So let's go there. This is your last evening. You will not wake up in the morning. That's it. There's your challenge. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Where are you going? Your last evening. It's inevitable. It's behind us, in front of us, around us all the time. We're talking about it now. The question I have for you is, you reflect on the past, what were some of the things that you remember the most? If you think about the future that you don't have, is there anything there that you regret not doing? And since we're on the topic of regret, let's talk about that because there are a lot of studies about it. More people die with regrets than not. And out of those regrets, there are top 5. And the number 1 is this. I wish I would have been more true to myself instead of following the expectations of others. Another study on regret tells us that sometimes we regret more the thing we didn't do instead of the bad thing that we did. So how do we live true and have fewer regrets? How do we live true and not have those things that we want to do still be in the future? How do we look back and find so many successful milestones that we're not only proud of, but we relive as our highlights? How do we do that? Well, I'm going to give you a taste of that. I've put all of these elements into my book, which you can find out here or buy at any bookstore, and it's now on audio. Soul salt. Because inside each of us is the salt of the soul that tells us how we can direct our lives to be true. I'm going to give you a flavor of that right now. Is that okay? So think about somebody that you respect or admire, somebody you'd like to know personally, follow or have them mentor you, and realize there's probably not one person that fits that whole bill because we're imperfect. So they may not be somebody that in totality you respect. There's something that shines so bright that they come to your mind right now. Do you have somebody like that? With their face, a picture inside your mind, think about 5 words that describe what it is about them that speaks to you right now. And note those words. Make a list in your mind. How come this person? What are the traits? What happens that makes you pick them out of a crowd? The words. Now let's talk about a time when you did take a stand. Maybe it was Sierra taking a stand for her employee. Maybe it was Ben taking a stand for the quality of some piece of one of those videos. Maybe it was being on Everest and taking a stand for the rest of the team that wanted to go up and somebody had to go down. Think about a time when you've taken a stand or a time when you wish you would have. Don't get caught in the storyline. Just think about what was it that made you do that stand? What made you have the courage or the fortitude to take the stand? And name that thing. Give it a name. Ready? Okay. Now let's talk about magnets for a moment because you can. How many of you played with magnets before? I'll bring it back. Just go with me. You played with magnets. So when you're playing with magnets, did you notice what they stick to? Like, will they stick to your refrigerator? A lot of people, yes. Will they stick to the bumper of your car? Depends upon the age of the car, right? Yeah, I know one. Will they stick to your hair? Wood. So you know a lot about magnets. You know what they're made out of. A lot of times it's pure iron, a little bit of nickel, some cobalt. It's usually an alloy. Then it's charged. And it's attracted to things. Have you ever played with iron filings and you just sprinkle them on a magnet and they look fuzzy, right? What is it in the iron filing that's attracted to them? It's not a trick question. What do you think? What? The iron. The magnet has pure iron in it. The iron filing is made out of pure iron, and they are attracted together. Now, what does that have to do with you? In this scenario, with these little exercises I just gave you, you are the magnet. Those traits that you gave to the people that you thought of, or the person you thought of, those are iron filings. That reason why you took a stand is an iron filing. Those things that you just thought of for taking a stand and attributing to the people that you admire have more to say about who you are, what your character is, and what you value. All those words actually belong to you, or you would not have picked those out of a crowd of words to describe that person. This is why you were attracted to that person. They're reflecting back to you the salt of your soul. So pick a couple of your favorite words and let's hear what you would own. What will you own? What part of you will you own that we just went through in this exercise? Those two, loyalty, authenticity. Thank you. Thank you. Good. What else? Oh, sorry. Holly. I got part of it right.
Kindness.
So both of those together. And you've been described as authentic, so I can see if you put those together, you're going to be fairly unique, right? What else are we going to share?
Silly.
Silly. Love it. And do you value that part of you? These pieces that you've identified are part of the badass, boldest parts of you. And so the challenge I would give you tonight is ask you to hang on to those and let those lead you through tomorrow, because I'm hoping that you are going to wake up tomorrow. And see if your life is a little more authentic, a little more true, and if you're a little more badass, a little more you. That's the secret. We all have a recipe of our greatness inside of us, and all we have to do is excavate, find it, and hold ourselves accountable to it. And that is the secret of my brand, and the secret of your success. And that is all I came with today, to let you experience, because I knew I was going to be in the end. If you have a question, you can come up later, have the books out there for sale. Thank you for being troopers and being here tonight. Thanks.
Wow, thank you, Lynn. And I just want to thank all of the speakers tonight. Benoy, April, Ben, Lynn, Sierra. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. Thank you so much for being this live event. And thank you, friends, family, future podcast guests. Thank you for coming tonight. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I want to thank all the sponsors. Give it up for April again, getting the food. Last but not least, I'll see you next year. Thanks a lot, everybody.